Hey everybody, welcome back to On the Run. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Jenny's on.
I'm back.
In the studio. Jenny is here. Lincoln, en route right now, back from the Boston Marathon. He had a very busy time out there.
Yes, he did.
Collecting all sorts of interviews. He was there for both the races. So all you Lincoln fans, all you Lincolnites out there, you have to wait until Monday to see him on camera again. Or then Tuesday back here. Crazy race, though. It was a fun race. I'm glad he was able to see it.
Yeah, both races. Especially for me, on the men's side, it was a really special thing to see Boston come down to such a small margin this year. When was the last time that happened? 25 years ago, I think? That was down to less than a second.
So it was tied for the fourth. It was funny. It was tied for the fourth fastest, or closest, excuse me. It was tied for the fourth closest finish of all time. There was one where they were recorded at the same time. This one was 2 seconds, but we were talking before. It almost shouldn't have been 2 seconds. It was only 2 seconds because DeCisa, his last 5 meters was him just giving up basically and walking across the finish line. But it was as close as it can be without having to go to an actual photo finish. And I was like you. I thought DeCisa had it when he turned on Boylston.
Yeah, I did too. And even in the final few strides, I kept going back and rewatching it, just trying to pinpoint the exact moment that DeCisa thought, oh, I should just give up. I'm just going to throw in the towel. Because to me, at the moment where he really seemed to give it up, they were still stride for stride. So I couldn't really understand why he decided to relent right there. I mean, 75K on the line and Boston bragging rights.
Chirono took his soul the stride before.
Yeah, he
instantly
did.
He put everything into that last stretch. He was moving across the road. He had one move and he made it. And then once Chirono was able to cover it, I think he's like, if this guy even gets close to me, I'm just going to crumple up like a ball and lie down. And great race, though. Made an awesome finish. And completely opposite from the women's race. I guess that's where we'll start. I mean, overall, who was your biggest winner from this race?
Yeah, so despite the fact that I thought the other race was obviously more exciting just because it was a battle to the tape, I thought Worknish Gefa was the biggest winner in Boston this year. And that's because she only ran 3 marathons before this. They were all in Dubai. Mm-hmm. And you really can't get more of a contrast between courses than Dubai and Boston. I mean, Dubai is flat. It's usually warm. And, there's no hills to deal with, whereas in Boston, it's usually wet and cold and hilly.
Yeah. Or super duper crazy hot where it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Which she could have dealt with that because Dubai, a little bit more on the warm end. But she hadn't even gone out for a test run on the Boston course before. So anybody looking at this, she entered with the fastest marathon PR. Mm-hmm. But to go out there and run the course the way she did, and you said something pretty interesting both on House of Run's Twitter and also in the recap, she ran the course without any fear, and it was possibly because she had no idea what exactly she was getting into, but clearly it paid off for her somehow, and it made the race all the more exciting. In the beginning, I thought, like so many others did, this could be a fatal error right off the bat.
Yeah.
But to see her carry that race and even hold off that late challenge by Kip Lagat was really, really exciting.
Yeah, her lead got to 2:59 at the 30K. It might have gotten over 30 minutes, but we just didn't have. Yeah. I never saw an official split where it was documented at over 3 minutes of a lead, but a 2-minute and 59-second lead with 12K to go isn't insurmountable in a marathon because literally anything can happen, but it's as almost as close as you can get to that. And I wish Lincoln was here to answer this because I wonder if anybody asked her afterwards about the reasoning why she didn't run the course at all. She's not the biggest name in women's marathoning, but she's established enough to where you'd think she'd have professional people around her to say, hey, maybe you should check out this course before you run it. You ran the 5th fastest time in history.
Yeah.
In a different course entirely. Don't you want to see what these hills are like? Yeah, I mean, that was just a theory of mine, which kind of makes sense of, well, if you don't know what's coming, then you're not going to back down, and if you're a 2:17 marathoner, you're not necessarily going to run 2:17 pace,
right?
But you're going to run your PR is 2 minutes better than everybody, and that's how she ran in the beginning.
Yeah, and it clearly paid off. A gutsy move still, nonetheless. And yeah, that was her first World Marathon major. Yeah. So in my book, that makes her the biggest winner.
My biggest winner wasn't somebody who crossed the line first, but overall, the American men had a great day. You can say the Americans in general had a great day. It had been since 2014 when Meb Keflezighi cracked 2:10. The last time someone not named Galen Rupp broke that 2:10 barrier.
And 2 guys did it.
2 guys did it. You see him right there. Scott Fauble and Jared Ward, the 2 that did it. Jared Ward there on the right, Fauble on the left. Ward obviously did that because he was a guest on our show last week.
Yep.
I feel like that was worth
It's the on-the-run magic, folks.
some time there. Fauble goes 2:09.10 for 7th. Ward about 15 seconds behind in 8th. Kicked past somebody in the last few strides. Now, the Olympic standard 2:11.30 wasn't in play here because this was a non-record / Olympic qualifying eligible course. But top 10 in a world marathon major get you there. So even if they didn't break 2:10, they've gotten the Olympics. But just the psychological impact of going under that barrier that, not that many people have done historically. Yeah, a couple years ago, obviously, Ryan Hall would break 2:10 with regularity, Ritz. But it's pretty much just been Galen Rupp and Galen Rupp only. So I think it's a great showing for the United States. I think we're going to enter the Olympics with a healthy amount of people with the standard. People have either broken to 11:30 or have that top 10 or have done what they need to do in the gold label races, whatever box they needed to check. I think there's going to be enough people there that have it. But for Fauble and Ward, Fauble's only 27, hasn't been at this for very long, but Ward's been running marathons since he was in college, literally ran a marathon.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
The fall of his senior cross-country season, he's been chipping away at this for a while. His PR before was exactly 2:11.30 from when he ran for 6th place finish in Rio. So I think great sign for the American men. Elkanah Kabet just outside of top 10, so he won't get the standard. But all in all, I think the pace and everything played really well to them.
Yeah.
The weather obviously cooperated, which was a huge deal. But the fact that the elite field didn't go crazy fast helped them. They got to do some leading. They were involved in the race. I mean, the winning time was just under 2 hours and 8 minutes, so they were right there. It was a 4:31 mile on mile, I think 24 that eventually, or 23 that eventually really broke it up. But Fauble and Ward got to be in that main pack, so it was just like a perfect scenario for both those guys, and they were there to take advantage.
Yeah, and I think that this adds just like further credence to things that we've been saying earlier about, the standards, the time standards are not harder, but again, I think that people are just going to continue to rise to the occasion like this. And to say that, only Galen Rupp was going to end up qualifying for, the Olympics on time, like that's just patently untrue. And again, Fauble and Ward went out there and proved it. We've got a lot more talent than a lot of people seem to think.
Yeah, and if top 10 in majors really opens up a good path to it too,
but
right?
A lot of people were just kind of like keying off of the fact that
the number 210.
Yeah.
So now they're in 2:09. I mean, I think the potential is there to go even quicker for both these guys. Again, they have a lot of years in front of them racing the distance, and I know Ward or his coach at Istone talked with Lincoln afterwards a bit about what are they going to do in the fall now. Do you run a fall marathon, or do you make sure you're all rested and ready for the Olympic trials early 2020? And one of the things they mentioned was potentially getting in a fast time, because now that you've run 2:09 low, you're like, okay, well maybe I can run 2:08, maybe 2:07 is a possibility. But all in all, a great day for the American men. Let's move to surprises. What stood out? What shocked you in this race?
So this sounds a little extreme, but after she dropped out of Boston and Chicago in 2018, had so many injuries, I started to have some concerns about Jordan Hasay. So to see her go out there and take third and run like the champion that I know she eventually can be was really encouraging. She ran a half marathon this past March, but 71 is really quite a far cry from her 68 PR. And so, when she was announced among the elite entrants, unfortunately, one of the first things I thought of was, is she healthy? How long is she going to be, talked about until she eventually drops out? I'm very glad that wasn't the case, because I do think that she has the potential to be an all-time great in American women's marathoning. So
when she races, she's damn good.
Yep.
Marathon. This is her third place finish in a world marathon major, and I thought she did really well to be patient. I know she got an assist there from Des Linden.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Des Linden, just ambassador extraordinaire. She's like taking up the Meb mantle of just person. If they don't win, they want to make sure they're countrymen or countrywomen get the title, which to me is just a little bit extraordinary to be able to do that in the heat of the battle. Remember last year Lyndon was like offering to slow down the pace for Shalane Flanagan, but she did really well to stick with that group, not make any crazy moves. She admitted after, DeGefa and Kippa got just better on the day. And now looking ahead, she's talking American record in Chicago, which a bit surprising, I will say, just because of the fact of the injury issues that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because you got to go October and then back again to early 2020 with the Olympic trials. So I don't know if that's 100% set. And sounds like she's already made the commitment to do it. Obviously, there's a lot of training between now and then. But, I mean, who's going to argue against it? I mean, from a fan's perspective, going for the American record, you don't want them to wait. You don't want to have the fall marathon 2019 season for the American just be like, okay, we're just waiting for the Olympic trials. Yes, the Olympic trials are great, but you also don't want to miss out on the opportunity to see all these superstars in American running, race in Chicago and New York.
Yeah, and I think I just read a good Runner's World article about what she's doing in terms of injury prevention, and it sounds like she's taking that aspect of things a lot more seriously. She's got a pretty extensive pre-run routine where she does all these activation exercises and stuff, and it sounds like she's really kind of built a lot of her training around that. So I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, then it could be that she's managing her health and potential for injury really well, and we could see that, in Chicago.
I think 2:19 is beatable, not just by her, but by Huddle.
Yeah.
I think Sisson, we haven't seen her race a marathon yet.
She's been amazing this year so far.
That's coming up, but she's another person who has that Hasay potential of just super strong.
Mm-hmm.
The track speed isn't their strength. Their strength is their strength, as Hasay said afterwards. So I think that record is going to go down by somebody in the next couple of years and may even start this fall.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no rain, so she didn't have to wear the wetsuit. Did you
see
that?
Yeah, I did.
Alberto had her. You don't want to
hysterical.
run a marathon in a wetsuit. Come on, Alberto. There's got to be better innovations than that. She's literally prepping to run a marathon in a wetsuit.
I mean,
wetsuits are very
honestly,
tight.
though, if the conditions were like last year's, I would have probably opted to run in a wetsuit.
Well, yeah, you and I, because we're going to be out there
mere
for
mortals.
And we're going to be out there for a long time. But
way longer.
Wetsuits are very constricting, and then I guess you could cut it to loosen it up a little. I just can't imagine trying to breathe the amount of oxygen.
Have you ever worn a wetsuit?
Yeah, it's tight. They're tight.
Yeah.
That's the whole. I mean, that's what keeps you warm. I don't know science that well, but I'm pretty sure that's part of it. That was a big surprise as well. I guess my biggest surprise, going back to what we opened with, was just that finish of the men's race.
Yeah.
And how close it was. I didn't know who was going to win, right? There was a lot of guys who had claim to even the mantle of being the favorite.
Yep.
Last week, Lincoln said it was Lalisa DeCisa. I thought it was Jeffrey Karui, who wasn't even in the mix there on that sprint down Boylston Street. But you see those guys right there, stride for stride for stride. Hard to see them with that camouflage jerseys that we've cooked up here. I don't like the two-tone.
Oh, I actually loved them.
You like that?
Yeah, and I love the contrast that it had with the shoes. I thought it was a really cool thing to see, especially during this portion of the race.
When I see the red for Lawrence Chirono there on the right, when I see the split red, all I think is, he had chafing issues on just one side, and things got really bad. It became a Michael Scott situation. That's what I think about. When I see the red, the green ones, I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of confused.
That's a take, yeah.
But it is. But yeah, I thought DeCisa was going to put it away at that point. That's been his MO of be the last guy to make the move. He's kind of turned marathons into 1,500 meter races in a way, and he's been on the losing side before and on the winning side. This one, Chirono had that little bit extra gear, but I guess I'm just a sucker for a race that's 26.2 miles coming down to literally the last 50 meters.
I mean, you don't get a better lesson in suspense than that.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch that. And also, I did become a little obsessed with the slow motion side-by-side of them finishing in that final stretch, because it's also a pretty good lesson in pronation and looking at different running forms. So anybody who's interested in that should go check it out.
Super duper slow-mo.
Yeah.
Let's look ahead now to the Olympic trials in a way. And I know it's not till 2020, but after these results, I'm really curious, what's the American pecking order for you? Now, we haven't seen London yet.
Yeah, that's why this was a little hard. And also, whenever I go with these kinds of predictions, I always have a pretty strong recency bias. So, obviously, Rupp is going to be number one in the conversation. He's gone sub 210 4 times. He has a 206 PR, so there's no way that he's going to get upended by any recent result. But Fauble and Ward for me are now firmly 1 and 2, and in that order.
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Sorry, yeah, thank you. But I really like Fauble for several reasons. One, he's steadily improved over the years, and he's been gradually moving up in distance and getting stronger and stronger. And I still think that he has a lot of really good upside. So I think that this is nowhere near his ceiling. And he races a lot, so it's just kind of fun as a fan to follow him along. And he dabbles in different, distances still. And I actually looked it up because I was curious. I remember him just like following his season. He competed so many times last year. He competed 11 times in 9 different types of races.
Okay.
So pretty cool. Like to see him flexing his range. But Jared Ward, it's awesome to see the significant PRs happening for him too. Again, like you mentioned, he's been at this for a long time. And also it's always fun when we can see a guy qualify for back-to-back Olympic Games. So.
Yeah, I would be interested to know if somebody has a different top 3 in the United States, who it would be. You could talk about Shadrach Biwat, who's been really consistent and, again, was in the mix in this race, again, too, didn't get top 10. Elkanah Kebet right there as well. But past that, it's hard to make a strong argument for anybody else. So I would say right now it's those 5 that are a little bit ahead of everybody else. But I would say Rupp, Ward, and then Fauble right now would be the Olympians if the trials were held in the spring. Barring Rupp recovering, I saw he posted on Instagram that he was back training again. Instagram doesn't lie, so I think we should take that at its word that he's going to be 100% soon. But, yeah, I have Rupp, Ward, Fauble. I'm not going to if you want to switch that order, I don't think it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But those...
Did you pick Ward over Fauble in that order just because he's a little more experienced, or
the experience and a trials race is a different experience, I think. Now, kind of similar in a way to Boston in terms of like there's no pace setters and things like that, but to manage that pressure is a Herculean task in my opinion. I mean, it's just literally it's not even like everything just comes down to that one singular moment, and it's not like track trials where, okay, you're entered in the 5 and the 10, so maybe you have that backup plan.
Yeah.
Or if you're a mid-distance runner, you get a round in to kind of get acclimated. It's like, no, it's literally that singular moment. You have one shot at it to get it right. So I put Ward just slightly ahead just because of that experience. But again, if you're going to say Fauble and then Ward, I think that's perfectly legitimate too. Younger, obviously beat him in Boston. Also, I like Fauble's burrito opinions.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know if he has any strong takes on tacos.
Yep.
I'm more of a taco than a burrito guy. I love them both, but I just wonder, does his love for Mexican food extend into the taco arena, quesadillas? I have a lot of questions for him.
Yeah, I do too,
that.
actually. So, Scott, if you want to join the show, drop us a line.
Yeah.
We'd love to chat burritos, tacos, any type of Mexican cuisine. Also, of course, a little bit of marathoning here and there.
Mostly taco takes, though.
Yeah.
I'm really into for taco takes. Okay, women. Here's my women, and then I'll let you. I'll let you go first. You went first last time.
Yeah, I mean, this one's really tough. I do really like Emily Sisson, and as soon as you brought her up there, it's like, I didn't initially.
Hasn't run a marathon yet, though. It's hard to put somebody on the marathon
but
team.
Man, I don't know, just the way she's been running, and to say that she's limited to the half is, in my opinion, pretty short-sighted. I think that she can definitely take it across the full distance. But anyway, I'll go with my original lineup. Again, like I said, I always have a strong recency bias, but I went with Huddle first, kind of going against that a little bit, because she's just like a very tough, experienced competitor, and I think that this year, give her a consistent block of training, she's going to be right up there in the conversation for the best, and especially at the trials, I think she's going to be an extremely tough competitor. And then after that, Linden, just because of consistency, you can't ever argue against her. She's always going to be up at the top. And then, of course, Hasay. The reason why I didn't put her a little bit higher was just because of the fact that she hasn't been as consistent. I do need to see her have a good showing in Chicago in order to be like all in on Hasay. But that would be my 3 right now.
Yeah. Again, tough to argue. it's also, we should do this exercise again after London.
Oh,
because
yeah,
then we'll have a lot more information on Huddle or Sisson. But I want to do it now just to test the known versus the unknown. So I'm not going to put Sisson on there yet. Looks like, from the reporting, it looks like Shalane Flanagan is sort of transferring or transitioning out of elite running.
Yeah, otherwise she definitely would have been in the top 3 if she had been. But
you have Amy Cragg in there, people like Kellen Taylor, people like Stephanie Bruce, Sarah Hall in the mix. But I went Hasay 1, Huddle 2, and then Linden 3. I'm assuming Linden's going to go through all the way to the Olympics. If not, then that obviously would open up another spot. It's hard to imagine her not finding a way to get on the team.
Yeah.
There'll be people with better PRs, and there'll be people who come in with a nicer tune-up race and more confidence-inspiring 10K or 15K or half marathon before. But I'm not going to bet against Linden. And 5th yesterday is still pretty solid. It got overshadowed a bit because obviously she won last year, so everything is a little different. And another American got 3rd, but she was right in there rolling. And I think her mantra, I know we're in the hashtag era of our culture, but keep showing up is exactly what she does. Like, she lives it. It's not like something that she just throws away. And in a marathon, like, you can keep showing up in the 100 and just get dusted every single week, or the mile. But the marathon is...
I'd love to hear your reasoning for this.
Well, the marathon is just the one race where the distance itself is so prohibitive. Consistency is at a premium. And
I see what you're saying.
The fact that she gets to the line healthy almost always, and the fact that she turns in a strong performance, almost like there's no C minuses, there's no D pluses when Linden races. It's always solid to great. Matters in the marathon because the weather could go bad. Someone could have bad buildup. Someone could miss a bottle. And she just doesn't make those mistakes.
You could have an injury. I mean, just the fact that she's been able to manage her health this consistently as well. To me, that is really just an indication of just her mastery of this event. Yeah.
So that being said, I'll put her on there right now before these London results. Now, if Sisson goes and breaks the American record, we'll have to make some adjustments. It just feels weird keeping Linden off. But I would put Hasay at 1. I know there's the injury issues. I think they'll figure that out. I think they'll be cautious with the buildup. And her ceiling right now is really high. And then I'd put Huddle in there at 2. And then, like I said, Des Linden at 3.
Yeah.
So we'll do this again in 2 weeks. How about we do that again?
Yeah.
Especially when Lincoln's here.
It's tough going off just one race right now.
That's the fun of it, though.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it. The pre-London, post-Boston Olympic trials qualifiers. All right. This weekend on the site, we have a lot of track meets.
So many track meets.
I know I've said on numerous occasions that this is the weekend that track begins, but I mean it this time. This is the weekend that track begins. Brian Clay Invitational and Michael Johnson meet out at Baylor, the Kansas Relays. The Cardinal Classic goes on and on and on and on and on and on. What are you watching this weekend?
Well, I'm, of course, watching almost all of it. I'm going to have to follow our weekly watch guide in order to fit in all the races that I really want to see. But the race that I don't know, it's really tough to pick something I'm most excited about, but a race that I'm excited about is the women's 1,500 meters at Brian Clay. So it's been a while since we've seen Alexa Ifremson, and she's going to be in the mix. She hasn't raced since Fifth Avenue, actually, last September. So this will be her season opener. And this race will pit her against Arkansas sophomore Taylor Warner, who I was really impressed with at NCAA's after she finished runner-up in that 3K against Jessica Hull. And then also, I'm bringing this back because last time I was on the show, this is how long it's been since I was on the show. I've been on a hiatus since I've been traveling so much. Ooh. But Kurgat versus Kurgat could happen.
It didn't happen last time.
It didn't happen last time because they were both entered in the 10K and the 5K, but they're both entered in this 1,500, and it might not happen again. But if it does, it's going to be awesome because this is kind of an off event for both of them. And I'm talking about Carolyn Kurgat from Alaska Anchorage, the D2 record holder, and then also Edna Kurgat, who we are more than familiar with from New Mexico. So yeah, I won't let that go. I really want to see it happen. And if these ladies end up going through the rest of their NCAA careers without facing off against each other, I think it's just a travesty. So
we should say, for those of you watching this archive, we recorded this on Tuesday, so things could change.
It could, definitely.
I'm looking at a couple NCAA outdoor previews here, some championship previews. The men's 1,500, there's like 700 heats of the 1500. There's like one after the other. It's super fast at Azusa Pacific. This is where Josh Kerr set the collegiate record last year. But in the 1500, you have Oliver Hoare, you have Yard Nagus, you have Jordy Beamish, you have Sam Worley. So right there you have the DMR star from indoors, who is just poised to drop a crazy fast time, I think. He's only running 800 this year, and it looked pretty good doing it with a big kick at Stanford. You have the indoor champion in Beamish, the outdoor champion in Hoare, and then Sam Worley, who's always in the mix. Also throwing Hassan Mead, the pro 5K runner, who can certainly get the wheels turning over 1,500. That should be a good one. But all these star lists are interesting. Women's 8, Lauren Ellsworth, who came out of nowhere, dropped 4 seconds off her personal best.
She's ready.
She ran a 2:02 for BYU at Sun Angel. Nikki Hiltz is in that, who just ran the BAA mile and won in Boston. And then
that was a thrilling finish. Emily Apari and her training partners in some regards, because they're both the same group technically.
Did you watch that in slow-mo too? And look.
I did a little bit. Yeah. But the photos were amazing. Justin Britton, great job. And
then the women's 5K, which I thought you were going to go with women's 5K, Kaladi, Monson, Ostrander.
Yeah, that one's going to be electric.
That Kaladi, Monson, we don't know what Alio is going to do, but Kaladi, Monson, they seem to be on a collision course to me in the 5,000. I don't see any way that they don't.
Yep.
In Austin. I was about to say in Eugene, because I'm so used to saying outdoors in Eugene.
It's a reflex.
In Austin in June. So that's good. Also, I want to talk about the Cardinal Classic. Can I keep going?
No, let's keep going. We got so much good track going on this weekend.
Cardinal Classic, men's 5,000, Grant Fisher, Edwin Kurgat, Dressel from Colorado, Cooper Tier. The names go on and on and on. A lot of Iowa State, Colorado, Stanford, big names, and those are 3 distance powerhouses in that men's 5K. And the women's 1,500, Hull, Jessica Hull, that is.
Yep.
Bond, James Bond, Hannah Meyer in going toe to toe in the 1,500, and then women's 5,000, Erin Finn. I think this is her first race since outdoors last year. She's scheduled to go in the 5. A lot of Michigan runners there, as well too. So Cardinal Classic is going to be a strong collegiate meet, and like I've always said, track really starts this weekend.
That's right. Yeah. You thought it was the Texas Relays weekend. Nope, guess again.
That was it. Kevin just keeps. Oh, and then let's talk about the Michael Johnson meet. At Baylor. Official entries aren't out yet, but I believe Ashley Spencer will be running the 400 hurdles or some other event. Morlike Kinnison back from the Achilles injury. She's Olympian, and Courtney Okolo potentially could be running again. We saw her split 50.7. I might have got that off.
I can't remember what the
under
score was.
51, above 50.0.
Yes.
I know Travis tweeted it. That's what she ran at Texas Relays. She looks sharp, so I'm excited to see her go in the 400.
Well, you were with her for that workout Wednesday that we shot with them.
Yeah, workout
Wednesday. She's looking crazy fit.
Which should be coming up in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. Showed some endurance out there. She was running hundreds and 150s, but with a stupidly small amount of rest, 30 seconds.
Yep.
Our camera person, Simone, did a good job, going around as fast as they could. Yeah. But 30 seconds is not much time for recovery.
No, not at all. And especially going that fast, she was just lactic the whole time, and she was clipping off some ridiculous, goofy splits. So
yeah, it was great.
That'll be a great workout to check on the site.
So again, this weekend, Brian Clay, Kansas Relays, Michael Johnson Invitational, Cardinal Classic, and then the Carifta Games as well, which start on Saturday and then go through the weekend.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
And then do you want to talk about something that's going to happen tomorrow, Wednesday?
Yes. Okay, so tomorrow we are going to be debuting the second episode of Speed City, our series with the Houston Cougars, and that's going to be going down at 6 p.m. Central, and it's going to be live on the site. We're going to do this first ever live debut of a special series, so please tune into the site at 6 p.m. tomorrow Central to watch this episode 2 of Speed City. It's going to be awesome. Episode 2 focuses on Texas Relays, where Houston was at the center of the track universe that weekend. A certain 4x100 meter anchor leg that got people chatting a bit. Yeah, just chatting a bit. On the social media. Twitter got a little bit tweety. It got a little bit. So yeah, we were there to capture all of that, and we documented it, and it's going to be pretty great. So that is 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday. Check that out. And again, all the meets this weekend, they'll be all detailed in the watch guide, which will coming out later
in the week, highlighting all those big races. But Brian Clay, Kansas, Michael Johnson, Cardinal Classic, Carifta Games, goes on and on.
Yep.
Track starts this weekend. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next week.